when I moved in 1991, half this street was derelict.
One house in 3 on this street was totally empty and bomb damaged, and nobody wanted to live around here.
The houses over the road were a shell and then a crater. They look just like the house I live in, which is more than 100 years old, but the houses actually over the road are 20 years old.
Some of the changes that are happening in Dalston probably are positive. I mean, we've had the new transport links and that, and so that's been good.
Well, I live 2 minutes walk from Dalston Junction Underground. I cannot get to all parts of London within, I was at Crystal Palace a few months ago, within 45 minutes, so New Cross, yeah.
I think some of the positive changes in Dalston in the last 5 years is that, you know, we've got a lot of new residents coming in, new types of people coming into the area, bringing in new money.
I'm all for mixed areas. I'm all for all types of people and, you know, rich and poor and in between living in the same area. But I feel the tilt is going dramatically to not just affluent, but actually very rich people moving into the area in numbers. The effect of that is that the businesses opening on the high street don't cater to the needs of me or my neighbours. One after another, you know, clubs, bars, retro fashion clothes. These don't provide services that are any use to me or my family.
I also like the fact that there are new shops that are, you know, small cafes and you know, and small bars opening up. But I'm not very keen on the fact that they're building all these high-rise blocks at the end of the street by Dalston Junction, and I'm worried about what's happening on Dalston Lane, that they're destroying all those beautiful old houses and replacing them with, you know, fake modern houses, which I don't think is an improvement at all.
I mean, relating to the Rio, what we've seen in the last couple of years, that the customer profile is changing. So we still have a lot of people who've been around for quite a while, who know the Rio and treasure it. But there are a lot of new people in the area, and who don't know the Rio. And I think that is that's a crucial point for us. And those people, I think, my impression is that they're now, the people moving in are people who tend to have more money than the people who used to live here before.
There seems to be a real divide, and the communities that live here, whilst they live side by side, they don't necessarily interact very much. So I wonder how much the new that new economy that is a positive thing about the changes in Dalston is actually having an impact on the communities that have lived here for many years.
I think there's an enormous amount that seems positive about the changes in Dalston. It's attracting young families. It's attracting, particularly as a mother, this is important for me because, you know, you want to improve the schools in the local area, and I think we're seeing lots of young families, and we see them here in Nancy's Pantry, who are coming to Dalston because the reputation of the schools is fantastic and it's getting better and better every time, and there's been an awful lot of change in that respect, which I think is extremely positive for the area. I also think just the, you know, where we are now sitting in Dalston Square, I think is fantastic. What this used to be and what it is now is a complete transformation. And I think, you know, changes like this and increasing the housing supply in Dalston and bringing, you know, people from other parts of London that maybe wouldn't have contemplated it before is an extremely positive effect.
But then there's still a lot of poverty, and there's still, what I'd say, there's a wide gap between people, the haves and the have-nots. And I think some of the redevelopments have shown that up more.
Yeah, I agree actually, because the area used to be quite community-based before, and it's almost like there's two communities, the quite wealthy community and the quite, oh God, that sounds awful, and the poorer communities, and it's actually more apparent.
So Dalston Square for me is actually too expensive for me. I went in one of their castles, have a sit down and have a cup of coffee, and it was extremely expensive. So obviously, why some people benefit of Dalston Square, for me it's too expensive to use.
developments, they look really, really beautiful. And the thing that needs to be an effort that needs to be made is the social inclusion of everyone who's around, and that is from the upper class to the common market trader. It's just to let people know, a welcoming experience, that this is for the people, you know, to experience and to enjoy.
I'm concerned about the pace of change and the lack of involvement in how the change takes place, particularly for existing communities who feel that they're just not being listened to at all, and change has been swept over them.
So I think Hackney Council is doing well in terms of catering for specific communities, in terms of developing the cafes, the bars, the new apartments. But in terms of education, in terms of schooling, I don't really think that's benefited the community that already was here. And I think a lot needs to be done to address inequalities and the gaps that are widening in education in Hackney.
So there's lots of positives with being based in Dalston, but it has hugely affected the way we operate our business, because we moved here because we knew the local area and we knew there were lots of young children here, and so we've adapted our business model to cope with that demand from different age groups, and cope with what young mothers are particularly telling us that they want from a place like this, and just making sure that we've got a large range of menu items that will be affordable and accessible to local residents. We don't want this to be a clique, we want this to be open to everybody, definitely. And actually our space here on Dalston Square, I think, gives us a lot of opportunities for really helping local residents here shape the square, to make it somewhere really attractive to local people in Dalston to come.
The council's aspiration, the council's target, is that 50% of new housing should be affordable, whatever that means. But that target is impossible to meet, because the developers won't do it. They may give an inch or two, but they won't give anything like that, and there is no legal way of compelling them to do it. If you deny them planning permission on that basis, they'll go to appeal and they'll win. So I think the answer is to give local authorities more planning powers and to allow them to borrow in order to build social housing.
10 years time I hope to be retired, and I would hope that therefore retired people on low income could afford to stay in Dalston.
To be honest, it's one of the things that's on my mind every day. I think about what my family's future in Dalston is in the next 10 years, in the next 5 years even. To be honest with you, I think if we're still in Dalston, we'll probably still be in my flat, and haven't expanded our family, but in a cramped condition because we can't afford to upgrade to a 3-bedroom. And if we're not in that flat, then we would have moved out of London.
And I think it can be improved to stay better and be inclusive and be a positive environment for the children in 10 years' time, and be a better place to be if they implement the changes. No.
One of the things that I think is most important is that any changes made in Dalston should be from the bottom up and not the top down. We want ordinary people to slowly but surely change the environment to suit them, and not have it changed, from above in ways that don't suit the people who already live here. That's what happened to Broadway Market, and that's something I don't want to see happen here.